jam-packed program for you. Derek Stevens, a little later on in the program. I had a chance to catch up with him recently and talk about the national championship game. He is the founder, the owner of Circa Sports, Circa Resort and Casino. And I wanted to get his thoughts as a casino mogul. Our friends watching in St. Louis, they have a new Circa there. There's one in Kentucky. And I wanted to get his thoughts on the national championship game and gambling at large. With some of the stories that are in the news these days. So that's coming up a little later on. Bill Bender from the Natty in Miami. Thoughts with him as we preview this national championship game taking place on Monday night. And for those of you that may be tuning in after the game, obviously, you already know what's happened, but some of the affiliates get the show before that. And you can also watch the show on YouTube every day where it's always available before it's available on television as well. So there's a lot of ways to consume this show every day, and some may get it earlier than others. So we'll do a bit of a preview with Bill Bender of the Sporting News coming up a little later on. We have some results to get to from the Australian Open Down Under. Also, the first winner of the year on the PGA Tour. But we start things out in the NFL with the big story. And the big story today is Sean McDermott. Wow. Who woke up on Monday seeing this one coming? The Bills firing Sean McDermott after he goes 98-50 over the course of his tenure with the team. So he's basically a 66% winning head coach. How many teams right now would raise their hand and say, I would love to have a head coach that wins 66% of his regular season games? Of course, you have to put that in context. He was playing with and coaching with one of the top quarterbacks in all of football, if not the top quarterback in all of football, with Josh Allen. And during that time, the Bills were 8-8 with Sean McDermott as the head coach in their postseason, lifetime under him. So that obviously plays some into this decision. But one of the things I think is most prevalent here is that the Bills have to have been thinking about this for some time before making this move. This didn't just come as a result of the loss on Saturday in a absolutely thrilling game against the Denver Broncos, which we'll get to coming up with Sam Yarnell in a few minutes. It's not just that. There obviously had to have been something the organization was considering throughout what was a lackluster regular season for the Bills. But again, a lackluster regular season that has to be put in context with all the injuries this team went through. And obviously the rise of the Patriots in the division was something that I don't think a lot of people anticipated. But, all of these things have to be put in context. Is it also part of the context of this might have been the Bills' best chance with Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl with no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes in his way? Maybe that plays into it some. Or maybe it's this. And I want to get Sam's thoughts on this when he joins us coming up in a few minutes. Did they already have a coach in mind? Because clearly they can't get John Harbaugh. They can't get Kevin Stefanski. Mike Tomlin's not coaching next year unless something wild happens that we're not anticipating. So does it boil down to the fact that they already had a replacement in mind? That's something we'll only know in the next day or two. If you wind up, they got to satisfy the Rooney Rule and do all their interviews. But at the end of the day, if by the end of this week, we find out they hired, Brian Daboll or Mike McCarthy or any other number of coaches that are still sitting out there potentially. Rex Ryan, by the way, suggesting they should go hire Bill Belichick. Good luck with that. Bill Belichick coming back and coaching Josh Allen does make for some interesting headlines. But ultimately, did they already have somebody they were zooming in on to potentially be their next head coach? That's something we'll only know in the next few days, and I think it'll play itself out that way. They had to have somebody in mind in order to make this move. As for that game on Saturday, look, we have sung the praises on this show of Josh Allen throughout this entire season for what he's done with as little as he's had to work with. But if you're going to sing the praises of somebody like Josh Allen the way that we have, and the way a lot of people have, you cannot play the way he played on Saturday and not get dinged for it when it comes to your resume, not get dinged for it when it comes to your legacy. In an opportunity, a real opportunity to win this game against this vaunted Broncos defense was another topic we'll get to a little later on in the show. And you go and turn over the ball as carelessly as he did, and you miss open guys in key moments the way that he did. That has to be talked about. Again, total context. We try to give it here on the show. Take out the emotion. When you take everything and put it in its total context, they should have won that game on Saturday. And yes, we could point to the bad call and the questionable pass interference calls and then the questionable interception call, which shouldn't have been an interception. We can talk about all that. But the fact remains, Josh Allen had the ball in his hands in key moments, didn't make the right plays, or didn't make the right throws, or didn't make the good throws that were necessary. There were two other headlines from the weekend that really stuck out to me. One is obviously the Bears and what transpired in that game yesterday, where you got the full Caleb Williams experience. The great of Caleb Williams and the not so great of Caleb Williams. And everybody will talk about the third interception not being his fault. DJ Moore's got to run a better route, a more aggressive route. He's got to come back for the ball, all those things. Still, that game was the entire summary of what Caleb Williams is. The absolute brilliant that he can be, and the sometimes frustrating that you've had to deal with as a Bears fan. Here's the good news. I think the trajectory is going up off the charts for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears under Ben Johnson. This team was that close to being in an NFC title game this year. In a year where they had to play from behind so much. I think things look great in Chicago. I know you don't feel great today in Chicago Bears fans, but trust me, it's going to get better for this franchise. I firmly believe that. The other big headline from this weekend is what happened with CJ Stroud. And we're going to talk about it coming up a little later on. But I don't think there's any way this organization could go and give the bag to CJ Stroud after what took place on Sunday against the Patriots. I just don't think he's that guy. And I said it during his first season in the league, when everybody was going gaga about CJ Stroud. The way he was playing football that year and making all these crazy plays and crazy throws, it wasn't sustainable. I said it in year one. Go back and watch the tapes. I said it in year one. And now it's coming home to roost. We're coming back with more NFL and the McDermott firing next. All right, this Monday edition of SportsWrap continues. And expanding upon what we talked about in the big story. The shocker out of Buffalo, where the Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott after a 98-50 mark, basically a 66% winning percentage over the course of his career, 8-8 in the postseason. Whew. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Sam Yarnell is with me on the show, as he always is. He is Bills fan number one, so obviously I want to hear what you have to say about this, Sam. You've been calling for his head since I've known you, so from that perspective, I would imagine this is a happy day for you. Give me your thoughts on sort of what you think went into this and where the Bills as an organization go from here.
Yeah, well, it doesn't feel like the right move, Jason. And, I think anyone who has watched, Buffalo football over the course of the last, 5 years has realized that, quite frankly, there's an argument to be made that the last 2 years have been McDermott's best coaching jobs of his entire career. He just continues and continues to be given these bad rosters. And the news that Brandon Beane will be retained and lead the new coaching search is almost as shocking as the news that Sean McDermott will be fired. Do I think it's the right move? Again, no. Do I think that the right person was fired? Again, no. This is a move that obviously screams they're going to hire Brian Daboll, which is fine. He'll be the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Cool. He's a more than capable head coach, right? When you put a decent ownership group behind him as opposed to the arguable second worst owners in football. So yes, I will trust Brian Daboll in this new iteration of Bills football. But that said, it wasn't a Sean McDermott problem that the Bills had. It was a Brandon Beane problem. It was very clear. I mean, everyone in the media talked about at it, this roster that the Bills had, and they've got no wide receiver. Well, firing the coach doesn't solve that problem, Terry Pagula. So, yeah, Jason, it's a head-scratching move. It's a stunning move, as everybody has said. I'm not going to sit here and repeat all that. But what I will say is that it was the wrong move, and to let Brandon Beeden remain is not the right move. There is precedent here. The Bills did, when they fired their last general manager, Doug Whaley, do it after the draft. So there's a non-zero chance that Bean is just retained through the draft and then fired at that point. I wouldn't be shocked at all at that. But again, I just can't say that this is at all a move that should be or will be supported by the Bills fan base, and I can't blame them.
You know, you brought up something, and as you were talking, your comments on the Maras and the Giants aside, which I find laughable, but put that aside for a moment. What you're talking about in terms of they had to have somebody in mind. This is what I pointed out in the big story, was they had to have somebody. In order to make this move when they're making it, when some of the coaching carousel has already stopped spinning in some cities with teams making hires, they had to have somebody in mind. So, you know, is this an announcement we see in the next day or two? Had they already started talking to Brian Daboll, which is kind of interesting? That's kind of what I'm anxious to find out, is sort of how this took place, the way that it did in the less than 48 hours since they lost that game on Saturday, Sam.
Well, I don't think that it's something that did take place in the 48 hours since they lost that game. If you go back to like even the middle of the season, the comments Sean McDermott was making were just a little unhanded, and no one really knew why. It was not very much like Sean McDermott to say the things he was saying throughout the season. And I think there's been a lot of realization that there was a discussion that was had about halfway through the season that, hey, listen, if you don't make big waves this year, that's your job. I think Sean McDermott knew that. It's probably why he got so heated after the game. It's probably why he did, all of the different, made all the different points about the roster that he did coming into this game. I think someone told him within ownership that his job was hot, and he tried to deflect blame.
Is there something to be said? Is there something to be said for the fact that, as I pointed out on X on Saturday, this felt like the year in terms of the best chance because of no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes. With this being the best chance from that perspective, that also played into this somewhat?
Just real quick on that narrative that's been drummed up. I think it's hilarious to put Joe Burrow specifically, a guy who's made the playoffs twice in the last 6 years, in that group, but also Lamar Jackson in that group, who's never beaten Josh Allen in the playoffs. No, Patrick Mahomes wasn't in the playoffs this year. He missed the playoffs this year. That is correct. It was not Josh Allen's best chance at winning the Super Bowl. It was arguably the worst roster that Josh Allen has ever taken to the NFL playoffs, and obviously you saw they didn't get as far as they've gotten in years past. So no, I always thought it was a little bit foolish to say that this was their best chance when you had multiple rosters that had multiple All-Pros on it, and the only All-Pro on this roster was the kick returner. So it was a little bit foolish and a little bit short-sighted to just say, oh, because the one guy who usually beats Josh Allen in the playoffs isn't in the playoffs, they should win it all. Obviously, that's not how football works.
I disagree from this perspective. Everything that was sitting in front of them still in these playoffs was something, even despite all that you're saying about the roster and the talent around, this was still going to be, I think, his best. If you even look retrospectively, if you go backwards, they weren't better than any of the teams they wound up losing to. They weren't better. They weren't the best team in the AFC any of the years that they wound up not going to the Super Bowl. Look, in a year of so much parity, in a year where it's felt like a coin flip, in so many regards, the Seahawks notwithstanding, I felt it was their best chance. Real quick, this was Josh Allen postgame after the loss on Saturday. They made him cry.
It's extremely difficult. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight. Just missed opportunities throughout the game. It's been a long season. I hate how it ended, and it's going to stick with me for a long time.
Sam,
Yeah. I mean, that was a game, Jason, that, again, when you talk about the coach being fired after the game, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, right? You do the math, and I said this to people while the game was going on. Anytime you fumble the ball 3 times in the game and lose 3 fumbles in a game, just mathematically, the way football, the sport of football works, it's almost mathematically impossible to win that game. The Bills beat themselves. It's as simple as that in that game.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm glad as a Bills fan, because there are some Bills fans who are going to say it's the officiating's fault, it's this and that. Well, I mean, and while the interception call is still mind-boggling to me, because to me that's a catch from Cooks. While that interception is certainly something a lot of people will talk about, him missing, I think it was Dalton Kincaid, he missed down the middle with a pass that would have potentially won the game. We're coming back. Coming up in 10 minutes, Bill Bender talks college football from the Sporting News. He's at the Natty in Miami, where it's a home game for the Canes, but will it feel like a home game in the crowd when they take on Indiana? We'll have to wait and see. Let's continue the conversation on the divisional playoff round with Sam Yarnell. How do you feel? I didn't get to let you express your opinion on the Cooks catch, non-catch. So real quick, what did you think of when you saw it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of said it at the end of last segment, Jason. I was just shocked that the Bills were even put in that position by the Broncos to, quite frankly, have a lead at one point in that game. Let alone, should have had a chance to kick the field goal to win that game, as you're alluding to. But there are countless missed opportunities, right? Josh leaving the ball a foot high on the throw to Knox there in the fourth quarter. There are a bunch of opportunities that were missed. And when it comes down to the game, and I think a lot of Bills fans agree with my sentiment in this, when it comes down to the game, yes, there's a call here that could have gone one way. There's a call here that could have gone another. But when you play the level of football the Bills did, it's just a shock that you even get that game to overtime. You have no place being in that game, playing as horribly as they did. Josh Allen playing the worst single-handed game of his playoff career, an arguable bottom 10 game of his career on the whole. It's a fluke thing, right? These things happen in football. We talk about them every week, right? But at the end of the day, it happened and it ended the Bills' season. So that's kind of the takeaway. It's poetic justice, though, for the NFL's sake and for the fans of the other 31 teams who also seem to be up in arms about this whole thing, that it happened in every subsequent game and was called the other direction.
We got to go fast on these. First of all, the Broncos will be without Bo Nix, as we all know by now. Jarrett Stidham will be the starting quarterback there. And boy, my buddy Nick Ferguson, who loves to talk about that Broncos defense that gave up 30, by the way, in that game, and should have lost that game if not for that crazy penalty, despite how bad Josh Allen played. All that being said, he wants to talk about, and I'm going to get him on the show tomorrow to hammer him about it. If he wants to sit there and talk about this Broncos defense, they're going to have to do all the heavy lifting in this AFC title game, Sam.
Yeah, and then some. And do I think any of us believe in them for a semblance of a second? No. And that's why I'll be putting my hard-earned American money on the Denver Broncos come AFC Championship.
4.5, by the way. The Broncos getting 4.5. As of
my gosh,
that is the number as of Monday morning. All right, the other game on Saturday, we don't have to spend too much time on it because I don't think any of us were surprised. If you watched what happened in the final week of the regular season between the Seahawks and 49ers, this outcome should not surprise you, Sam Yarnell, with what Seattle was able to do in this game. So they move on to the NFC title game. Great season for the Niners to even get to that point with everything they had to overcome. I thought it was Kyle Shanahan's best coaching job. A quick thought.
It is crazy how injured that team is. And you lost another Niner in this game, Jake Tongas. It is crazy how many injuries that team has bared this year.
Yeah, it absolutely is. All right, move to the Sunday slate. Patriots and Texans. And boy, the Texans are going to have decisions to make after C.J. Stroud, as Sam would like to say, all over himself in this game. And there are people out there trying to defend. And there were a few people that came into my timeline, that tried to defend C.J. Stroud in this game. There's no defending this sort of performance. But I also blame DeMeco Ryans for putting him back in the second half. As I said, you can blame C.J. Stroud in the first half. The blame goes to DeMeco Ryans in the second half. He knew what C.J. Stroud was in the first half of that game, and he stuck him back out there in a situation where it's winner take all. I have a big problem with DeMeco Ryans putting him back in that game.
Yeah, I don't know about the Ryans thing, but what I'll say is this, to your point. This game turned into which quarterback could stop throwing up all over themselves first. Like, everyone's
That's exactly what I said.
Everyone's talking about the horrible game that C.J. Stroud had. I got news, people. Drake May turned the ball over the same amount. They had the same amount of turnovers in this game. Drake May just got bailed out because the team around him's a little bit better than C.J. Stroud's, who was working with like 5s and 6s on the offense. So, yeah, do I believe in the Patriots one iota more? Not at all. Do I believe in Drake May at all? Still no. He turned the ball over 4 times in a playoff game. Do you know how hard? We just talked about the Bills. Do you know how hard it is to win a playoff game in the National Football League when your quarterback has 4 turnovers? Yeah. The only thing that'll do it is the other quarterback having 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. The one thing I will say is, May does have this uncanny ability to make certain throws. He can make the throws.
No doubt.
And that's the one thing you have to hold out hope for if you're the Patriots, is the combination of that defense. Look, they're probably gonna wind up in the Super Bowl regardless. I mean, and once you get to that position, look, if they play Seattle, I think they're gonna get destroyed. But if they play the Rams, would it shock you if it was a close game? No,
yeah.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would. Not with that defense. I think
Puka Nacua. If the Rams play the Patriots in the Super Bowl, Jason, I'm gonna bet on Puka Nacua to have 200
whatever
plus
the over
yards.
is. Take the over. Bears and the Rams. Wow. All you can say to that game is wow. And you got the entire Caleb Williams experience, ladies and gentlemen. If you wanted to go on the ride, you got the ride. That was Space Mountain, baby. I mean, it was the great of Caleb Williams and the of Caleb Williams that you got to experience on Sunday, Sam.
Yeah, however you felt about Caleb Williams before this game,
exactly
you're right. That was it, man. It was we got to talk about the throw. That throw on 4th and 4, season on the line.
Insane.
Rams defense bearing down on you. And he just says, all right, I'm going to sprint backwards to the 50 and
30
F
yards.
it. Komet up there somewhere. And he caught it. It was awesome, Jason. Yeah. This game was so fun. I am sad the Rams won, but I thought the Rams would win. I'm just happy the people of Chicago finally got a winning football team again. That is a fan base that deserves it like none other.
And look, Caleb Williams has the right approach to all of this. After the game, he talked about things he has to improve upon, and I think that's just the sign that you want to see as a fan of this team, as management of this team. I think that's what you want to see. And I still think, the trajectory looks great for the Chicago Bears. And the Rams, my Super Bowl pick, they're in the Final Four. We'll see what happens against Seattle next week. I think it's going to be a great game, just like the last one was. Bill Bender, the Sporting News from the Natty, next. Welcome back to the show. We switch gears from the NFL to college football. The Natty in Miami on Monday night. Indiana trying to complete the perfect of perfect seasons. Going up against Miami. Let's get down to South Beach, say hello to Bill Bender. He's not tan. Who goes to Miami and doesn't get a tan? Bill Bender of the Sporting News, who hangs out with us every Monday on the show. Come on, it means you haven't been doing it right.
I did get on a yacht last night as part of the media party so I did get outside, but it was dark already. So, there was a lot of work to be done here in Miami the last couple of days. It's been a blast, and I think it sets up for what's going to be an amazing atmosphere tonight when the Hoosiers and Hurricanes hook up.
What feels like the prevailing wisdom walking around Miami? Give me a sense, set the scene. In terms of, what you see from a fan standpoint. Is it going to be half Indiana? Is it going to be 30% Indiana? What are you seeing?
I think so. I think it's going to be about half. There's a lot of Indiana fans roaming around Miami right now. But I think it's going to create the effect that it did a couple years ago when a bunch of Tennessee fans showed up at Ohio Stadium. And it just made those hometown fans a little more rowdy. So I think the Miami fans will show out as well. I think the dominant theme for me this weekend at Media Day was that Fernando Mendoza had by far the largest podium, right? I get he won the Heisman, but it was of that superstar level. And we can't find anything wrong with him, Jason. We just can't. We can try. But he's corny. It's a little cornball, but his faith and his, just his mannerisms, he's always smiling. He's so gracious and humble. I mean, it's hard not like him.
Sam, go ahead.
Bill, I'm curious from a game perspective, right? We talk about Mendoza, presumptive number 1 overall pick, Carson Beck, been here before, right? Been in college football forever. But these two defenses, they are nothing to be messed around with. Are you expecting this to be more of an offensive game or a defensive game? Which side of the ball rules on Monday night?
I mean, but it should. I don't see this being a 35-31 game, which I was just talking to Jim Coyle with the Indy Sports Bulletin this morning, and I said I said the same thing, like 10 years ago when Clemson and it was 9 years ago, Clemson and Alabama played in this game, and they, both years that they hooked up in 15 and 16, they were shootouts because I think they knew each other. So, I think Miami's less likely to score like 30 points in this game. And both defenses are good in different ways. So I think if Miami wants to win this game, they have to use the formula that they used against Ohio State. Play keep away, get off to a fast start, get Michael Irvin into the game. Maybe Michael Irvin will get on the field if they go up 14-0, that kind of thing. Get everybody rowdy and like they used to do at the old Orange Bowl.
I agree with you, and I've said from the moment this matchup was consummated that it had to be, very similar to the formula they had last game. Keep the ball out of Fernando Mendoza's hands. Is there anything that we've seen in Indiana's DNA that if you get them down, that if Miami can get that lead, that Indiana might tighten up a little bit?
I mean, it was really close at Penn State.
That's the game I think of, too.
I think that's the formula, too. Miami, to me, is a very comparable team to Penn State, with the guys that they have on the defensive line, with the running game that they rely on so much. Now, they won't have the home crowd that Penn State had that day, but that would be the closest thing. And Penn State had that game put away, but they couldn't run the ball late. And it opened the door up for Fernando Mendoza, who has been clutch in the fourth. Both of these teams, it's crazy. I wrote this earlier in the week. Mario Cristobal's been kind of clutch in these playoffs. For as much as we hammer him,
sure,
you have to give him credit. But at the same time, if Miami's up 17-14 with 3:50 left in the ball, are you trusting them to close this game out? That would be the type of scenario that I think that could happen tonight.
Well, Bill, if they do, it'll take a lot from Carson Beck. And that kind of leads me into my next question. With regard to Carson Beck, we know Mendoza on one side of this game, he's going to go 1-1. He's going to be the first overall pick, especially with the Dante Moore news. From a Carson Beck perspective, a lot of people are projecting him to be like a round 3 or 4 pick. How much do you think he could raise that with just this one game on Monday night?
Well, I mean, Stetson Bennett has played in this game. It didn't really impact Max Duggan's draft status. That's a name that seems like it's forever ago. It's really not that long ago, guys. But he could be that day 3 guy, maybe even push into late day 2 with a big performance. He's played a lot of football. This is a weak quarterback class. He hasn't made mistakes other than one tipped pass that got intercepted against Ole Miss. Guy went viral over the weekend for his take on classes. I mean, if you're a
wasn't a take. He said he hasn't gone to school in 2 years. That's not a take.
Yeah, I mean that's well, it's I don't know what to do with that, honestly. Like it reminded me of the old Matt Leinart ballroom dancing thing. Like that's what he took his whatever year that he was trying to stay in school. We know the truth, though. Come on now.
It reminded me of the Cardell Jones "We ain't come here to play school" line from all those years ago.
And that stuff can follow you. Here's one other thing I want. Speaking of quotes that follow you around, Curt Cignetti, and I gained a little bit more of an appreciation for him because he was asked that, when you're in those large scrums, which you guys have been in, the Google Me stuff came up over and over again, and you could tell he got annoyed. I think he regrets saying that phrase, even though it turned out to kind of be the trademark of the turnaround, so to speak. Because he was like, well, when I said it, I was making sure that the pulse of our fan base was still there.
I got to go, so give me a prediction.
I got Indiana 31-19, but I trimmed it down a little bit. That was my initial one. I'll say 28, like 28-17. That's going to be my final prediction. I like Indiana to win. I just think this combination is too much. Miami will make it fun in the first half, but can they do it for 4 quarters? Give me the Hoosiers.
Bill Bender does a great job with the sporting news. Check out his work there. Appreciate you, my friend.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
We're coming back.
You've put up with your old shower for too long. It's outdated, unsafe, and it's time to replace it. But why struggle with a lengthy shower remodel when Jacuzzi can do it in just one day? And there's no need to break a sweat or your budget.
Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering 0 interest and 0 payments for up to 1 year.
So you can finally convert your old bath to a safer, easy entry shower, complete with a custom seat, grab bars, and slip-resistant floor installed in 1 day.
My overall experience with Jacuzzi has been wonderful. Everything was customized to the way I wanted it for the price that I wanted to pay.
I've had a great experience from start to finish.
Don't take matters into your own hands. Do it the smart way. Give Jacuzzi Bath Remodel a call.
There are only weeks remaining during our limited time offer. We're waiving all installation costs and offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-991-0721.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Let's continue the conversation with a guy that I always love to pick his brain about. I mean, how many times do you get to talk to a guy that owns the book, owns the casino? I mean, you don't get to pick the brain of guys like that very often. At least I don't. Derek Stevens, owner of Circa Sports, the best sports book on the planet here in Las Vegas. If you've never visited it, if you come out to Vegas, it is a must-see. The national championship game Monday night. I have to imagine you're going to get a lot of people coming in here that can't go to the game, but want to watch the game, obviously, in a great environment, and they'll be watching it over at Circa. As far as the betting on this game, there seems to be a lot of, I think, sentimentality with Miami being back in this spot, but they're such a big underdog here against Indiana. Is this one of those spots where, as the guy who owns the casino, are you hoping the money goes one way or another?
Well, I certainly am, but I can also tell you what we don't want. I don't want the final score to be 31-23. I don't want the score 35-27. I don't want it 38-30. I do not want this to land on the 8. We saw this money just blow right through on Indiana, and we got up to 8.5. And it seems as if we're not getting any Miami money unless we're hanging the 8.5, which is where we're at, at this moment.
Right.
We move it down to 7.5. It's nothing. It's nothing but Indiana money. We're getting Miami at 8.5. So I know right now 8 will be a big problem. So I'm hoping we get some two-way action. I would tell you though, the amount of money that's going to come in on Monday throughout the day, that's really gonna move the market. Because,
well, that's when the sharp money will come in, right?
Yeah, because with all the football that happens over the weekend, really this game only comes into clear focus on Monday. So Monday alone, I would expect that we're going to do 70% of the handle of the game.
Wow.
So if I'm talking prior to Monday, it's you have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt because it's just too premature until the market gets far more solid. I would say late Monday morning and Monday afternoon, and that's when you kind of know.
I ask this question from a bit of a naive standpoint because I've never talked to you about this per se. But if a huge number comes in, if a huge wager comes in, late on Monday, does somebody call you up? And does it get that high to you where somebody calls up and they're like, all right, somebody wants to put this much in on the game, and you got to be like, whoa.
No, I'm on a group text, so yeah, we talk about it with our risk makers.
I want to be on that group text. I want to be on that one.
We have, we've got our limits to the game, and then oftentimes we've got people that may come to the counter and want more than what the game limit is. Whether we know them or don't know them has an impact on the thought process. But I fully expect we're going to have a walk-in on Monday afternoon with $500,000 of cash wanting to make a play at the counter. It's just going to happen. It happens on any big game. I know it's going to happen, all weekend. The past few Super Bowls, it's been 7 figures in bags coming in. So it's something we all talk through. And a lot of it has to do with the timing. If someone, a lot of people don't understand this, is that if someone comes in and wants to make a very large wager half an hour before kickoff, it's a different deal. Remember, we're trying to get two-way action. If it's only a half hour kickoff, it doesn't give our guys a lot of time to maneuver. It means they may have to overcompensate on the line. It might put us in a more precarious situation where we could get sided or middled, probably middled in a case like that. So if you make the play 6 hours before kickoff, we're going to be a little more willing to take much, much higher limits because we have a little more time to maneuver. If you do it the day before, even better. If you call up to let us kind of know, you have to tell us you're going to take, but at least then we have a good sense of what we can do. And that's the great thing about Circa Sports is that we feel that we have such a tremendous amount of liquidity with all the I would say professional bettors as well as the high net worth recreational bettors that we feel pretty comfortable taking a big bet because we feel pretty comfortable liquidity in our system. We're gonna get buyback on that as long as we have enough time to maneuver.
How's the operation in Missouri going? I know you guys are new over there. We're on in St. Louis, Kansas City. Hello to our friends watching over there. Give me some thoughts on what the early feedback is on Missouri.
Early feedback on Missouri is good. I mean, I like what we're doing. We're really gonna start pushing the envelope come March. We launched with a first version of our new software, so that's why we did not come out guns a-blazing on the marketing, both at the end of November and then on launch day, December 1. I'm going to be in Kansas City next week. It's the weekend before Super Bowl. We're doing an event with the Royals. We signed a deal, a television deal with the Royals. We signed an outfield wall deal with the Royals.
Love it.
So we're doing an event with the Royals. I think they're having their casino night. Somehow my marketing people said we're sponsoring their casino night. So that's going to be kind of fun. Have had multiple events in St. Louis. I like what we're doing with the St. Louis Blues. We just inked a deal for some television with the St. Louis Cardinals. And we're going to have a handful of different events throughout the state where we're going to be dropping funds into people's accounts and things like that, kind of surprise and delight as we get closer to March and April.
Derek Stevens is the owner of Circa Resorts and Casino. It is a fantastic place. If you come out to Las Vegas, I tell people all the time, if you're a sports fan, it is one of the must-see places. It's such a gorgeous facility. Every time I go in there, I marvel at it. All the best. Congratulations. I hope it goes well for you, but not too well that people get crushed by the books on this Monday night game. And I hope we get to talk again soon.
Right. Great to talk to you. Thank you. Take care.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow on the show, full reaction to the Natty. And who knows, maybe another NFL head coach will be fired. I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't happen. It feels like every time we're on the show right now, somebody's getting fired. Either that or somebody will have been hired. There's a good chance there will either be a hiring or a firing. It's like a hospital. Birth and death. The only two certainties at a hospital. Before we get to odds and ends, a couple of reminders for you. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show just as well as watching it Monday through Friday, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. 45 minutes sitting there for you. And pro tip, much like the TV version of the show on YouTube, available early in the afternoon before you could see it anywhere on television. Speaking of television, Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to this yet, what are you waiting for? It is the place for all things Sports Wrap. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, available on our YouTube channel. And as I said, available before it's ever available on television. Monday through Friday, you can watch us over on YouTube. Also, Sports Wrap Shorts. These are 1 to 3 minute long videos highlighting the top stories when news breaks, because we can't just go on TV. We go to our YouTube channel, and Sports Wrap Shorts has those top stories covered. The biggest games every night, we have those covered too. Tonight, we'll have the Natty covered, so you'll make sure to check out Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel for that. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, you guessed it, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, on this Monday, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Chris Gotterup, third year in a row with a win on the PGA Tour. He gets it out of the way early. First event of the season, wins the Sony Open. This guy was fire late last season, and certainly making some waves winning the Sony Open.
Yeah, Chris Gotterup, shout out to Little Silver, New Jersey, about 15 minutes down the road from where I'm doing the show right now. Always great to have a local kid. You're right, Jason. Gosh, I almost called you Kevin. You're right, Jason. Chris Gotterup is a guy who has really made a name for himself over the last 8 months on the PGA Tour. This is a kid who is coming on fresh out of, and this is so in the weeds, but there's someone out there who's going to appreciate it. The Oklahoma men's golf program is one that is absolutely producing studs. They are on like a 7-year run, 10-year run now of producing just absolute ballers on the PGA Tour and elsewhere. Chris Gotterup, obviously a product of Oklahoma via Rutgers, I believe, but he's certainly made a name for himself very early on in his PGA Tour career.
Not to be confused with Oklahoma State, where Ricky Fowler is always representing their orange. Venus Williams falls in the opening round at the age of 45 in the Australian Open. Sam Yarnell is not shedding any tears because he thought this was a snoozer of a story when I brought it up last week. But she did win the first set and was very competitive, and she's planning to play a lot more. This is not the end for her. She's planning to play more events. She feels like she's got one run left in her, Sam.
Admittedly, I was surprised to see that 45-year-old Venus Williams even won a set in this match. Yes, I did not think she could do it. It is beyond impressive to see an almost 50-year-old woman coming out and no, I'm serious, and remaining competitive. Like, there is seriously something to be said about that, Jason. And while, yes, I don't think it is the biggest story, it is certainly one of the most impressive ones.
Stan Wawrinka, by the way, at the age of 40, winning his opening round match in 4 sets. 3-time winner of a major in the tennis world. Hats off to Stan Wawrinka. Novak Djokovic won his 100th career Australian Open match with his opening round win as well. Yeah, I know. Nuts. 100 wins.
Yeah, I'm doing the math. How many matches do you have to win the thing? In one, is it 8?
I can't remember. Could be.
But still,
it's a lot.
I mean, that's like over... assume it's 8, which I think might be short shrifting it, but regardless... If it's 8, that's over 12 entire Australian Opens he's played.
Yep.
That's wild.
It is wild. All right, the Natty, Sam Yarnell. We got a minute left. Miami getting 7.5. They are plus 260 on the money line, which feels awful low. Indiana minus 320. 47.5 is the total. What do you got?
Just lay it with Indiana. It's pretty much as simple as that. I don't think
boring.
Miami competes in this game.
Oh, no.
I don't think that the front four of Miami, which have been so effective all year, led by Ruben Bain, obviously, I don't think that they're able to get home against this man football that Indiana plays. It just feels like Indiana's got the bigger bodies. They've got the better athletes. They've got the better quarterback. I'm going to trust Indiana in this one. I'd lay the number. I'd lay it past whatever it is. It opened 7.5. Well, the look-ahead lines are 5.5. Then it opened 7.5. Now I think it's 8.5. Even if it gets up to 10, I'd lay the points with Indiana. I think it's a rout tonight in Miami, Jason.
I think I got about $6 in my checking account, and I think with that $6, only because it's $6, just to be a contrarian here, I will go with the Miami Hurricanes plus 7.5. Give me the home team. Fun fact? Yeah.
Carson Beck graduated high school the year after me. I'm sitting here doing this.
Yeah.
He's playing college football still.
Don't blame him for your poor life choices. You want me to tell you? You bet on a winner with this show, let me tell you. It's going to do it for us. Thanks to Bill Bender. Thanks to Derek Stevens. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. Any final words, Sam?
Hoosiers?
Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting. They're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.